Drummers I Like podcast, episode number 1. Welcome to the Drummers I Like podcast, episode 1. I'm Richard.
And I'm Kevin.
We're so excited to have everyone here today for the first episode of Drummers I Like's podcast. We've been trying to get this done for a long time. Me and Kevin grinding away, doing podcasts, doing social media, putting in the time and effort, and I feel like we're finally here today, and we're just excited for everyone to hear the podcast, check out the new website, check out all the new stuff. How you doing today, Kevin?
I'm doing great. I mean, it's a great day in Drummers I Like world. I'm just really couldn't be happier with the great job that the Digital Sync did with, really digging into the site and really streamlining a lot of stuff, and really happy with the look. I hope everybody else is too. And even more excited to finally be able to roll out the podcast I feel like been talking about like for 10 forevers. So it's good to be here. It's good to be back and hitting it as hard as we can. We're going to have some pretty good exclusive live video footage here shortly, and we'll be able to roll that out. So there's going to definitely be some more cool stuff going on. And we have, of course, the interview today with Sam. And it's pretty cool to hear him kind of go into his background and they're going to be on the 2016 Warped Tour. That's going to be really cool to see, and hopefully, knock on wood, we'll be able to get out there and visit him when he's both on the West Coast and the East Coast. So he just came off the Sumerian 10 Year Tour, and he's going to talk about playing with Born of Osiris and then After the Burial and Era and Bad Omens. And a lot of talk about the tour lessons, which is really cool. So I think everybody's going to really enjoy our first attempt at this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Sam did a really good job. I think it was cool to have him on too. We've known Sam for a while. We've been good buddies with him for a couple of years now, and you may have saw him in some of our posts and videos just in the last few years. Still on our YouTube channel. Go check him out because he does shred. So yeah, like Kevin said, we go over a lot of cool stuff. He fills us in on his lessons and everything he's doing on Warp 4 with TEI. So we're really excited to hear about that. And I think that overall, we're really excited for the podcast. We got a lot of great guests already lined up. We got a lot of people excited to come onto the show, and just a lot of great subjects and stuff to really talk about. We don't feel like there's a great deal of drummer-related podcasts out there. There are some good ones, but we feel like we're going to fit right in, and excited for you to hear everything. So please forgive our uhs and ums. As like Kevin said, this is our first podcast, so we'll get it down, we'll get it smooth. But for the most part, I think we're ready to go. Anything else from you, Kevin?
No, I think that does it, and I'm just anxious to get into the interview. So without further ado, Mr. Sam AppleBaum.
Here we go.
So thanks for stopping by and being our first ever victim of the podcast here from Drummers I Like.
So thank you so much for having me.
No problem. We're stoked to have you on, and I think everybody's anxious to hear what you have to say. So we're gonna dive into it, and kind of the one thing we want to make sure we do is just let everybody know that maybe doesn't already know about how you got into drumming, from the start, kind of where you started with drumming, and kind of how you've worked your way up to where you're at now.
Okay. Well, basically, my mom's brother is a musician, and his son is a musician as well. So when I was about, between 11 and 12, I would always see my cousin playing drums, and that's got me extremely interested in the instrument. And basically from there, when I turned 13 and I had my bar mitzvah, I got my first drum set, and I started playing. I took private drum lessons for a few years from different teachers around the area, but most of the metal stuff I ended up just trying to work out on my own, and worked on through talking to other drummers that were doing the same thing and doing stuff that I wanted to try to do, basically.
Sure. Now, were you kind of instantly really gravitating towards metal, or did you kind of, were there other influences early that kind of got you into it, or did you really push towards that once you really kind of got the drum set and started digging in?
I think it was like a slower transition. It was not metal, but like it was, softer stuff and like, new metal or whatever you want to call it. And like when I was really, getting into like heavy stuff, I, was really into Korn, and I was really into Deftones and Limp Bizkit and all those bands. And from there, it kind of turned into like Slayer and Cannibal Corpse. And then from Cannibal Corpse, it turned into like Death and like Origin and other death metal and stuff. So yeah, it kind of just progressively got heavier and heavier the deeper I got into drumming, and that, super fast, like aggressive drumming was really what made me, I guess not what made me, but made the instrument appealing to me.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm not that great with my words.
No, that's quite all right. I mean, that's
good.
It's definitely a snowball effect, and as you go down the rabbit hole, it just keeps getting deeper.
Right, exactly.
Deeper, it seems sometimes.
More stuff to find out and more stuff to draw you in. So, yeah, that's basically how I got into metal. And that the cousin that I spoke of that introduced me to drums introduced me to like the metalcore, hardcore scene as well. So that played a huge part in what I do now as well. So.
Of course, and where in all that did Veil of Maya start to come into shape? I mean, were they, right? Was that one of your very first serious bands, or how did that kind of all work out for you?
I'd say it wasn't the first serious band. Obviously, we've done, out of all the bands I've been in, Veil has obviously done the best. But basically, it started, I think around when I was 18 or 19. In 2004 is when we played our first show, in November of 2004. But I went to, elementary school with Mark, and high school for part of the time. So we've known each other for an extremely long time, and we had always been jamming together. And we'd always been in bands together all the way leading up to Veil. We were in a couple different kinds of bands, from, a jam band back in junior high school to like a melodic death metal band through high school, and then after that band, which was called Insurrection, and after high school kind of came to a close, that's when Veil started.
Cool. I'm sure it's been a wild ride since.
It has been a very wild ride.
That's great.
Very cool ride, though.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're doing the thing, and it's for those who can get out there and do that, it's a great experience. It can be trying, I'm sure, but it's a great experience in general.
Oh, definitely.
But sliding into our next thing, we have you guys have just announced that you're going to be on this coming Warped Tour.
Yeah, really excited about that.
Yeah, I know when I saw the lineup in general, I thought it was really good, and then I saw you guys on there as well, and thought, oh man, this is going to be a good Warped Tour. So. Really cool.
Yeah, we're really, really excited to be a part of it, and we've never done it in our band's career, so we're just really excited to do it this year. And it does look like a really awesome lineup, and there's definitely a lot of metal bands on it, which is really cool. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be a good show.
I feel like I'm pretty excited about it, because there has been this like slow buildup of metal bands showing up on Warped Tour every year and every year and every year. I mean, it's like this year they just let it all out.
Yeah.
It's boom. Every good band's finally on, and
yeah, it's awesome.
Warped Tour will be fun again for us metalheads.
For sure.
Now speaking, kind of in with the Warped Tour theme, you're pretty consistent about doing your tour lessons when you're out on the road. And do you have kind of some plans for doing that through the Warped Tour as well?
Well, actually, and it just got announced today, but I'm actually going to be giving classes through TEI, the Entertainment Institute.
Okay.
On Warped Tour every day. So you can go and you can sign up for classes. My class is called the Metal Drummers Handbook.
Nice.
And yeah, basically, I don't know exactly what I'm going to go over in the class yet. I'm still kind of figuring out exactly what I want to do, but basically it'll touch on a few basic, metal concepts that I feel are definitely beneficial for metal drumming nowadays. And then I also will probably talk maybe a little bit about band business and stuff like that. And I'm always open to questions. And as much as I'm trying to have like a set thing for the class, I always like to base it around who attends, because if someone has a question, like, I want to answer the question before I just sit there and talk about whatever I have planned. So I try to base it depending on what people would like to know.
Sure, absolutely. It seems like a great way to kind of run your curriculum. So nothing wrong with that. And that's good luck that just happened to be announced today, and we happen to have you on today. So that's really cool that you can kind of get that out there and
totally
let people know too. And me and Richard will work together, and we'll make sure that all the links and all the information for all that is all in our show notes for this show too. So make sure that everybody checks that out, so that way.
Yeah, and even besides, not to cut you off, but besides giving classes, but there's a lot of other people and musicians on Warped Tour aside from drummers that are going to be giving lessons and giving classes and stuff. So it's definitely worthwhile to check out if you're going to Warped and you're trying to improve on anything in the music world. There's somebody there for you for giving some kind of class. So
that's great.
Awesome.
That's great.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Glad to see that back on Warped Tour, man. The whole music lesson thing.
It's really cool.
It's powerful. It's powerful because it's one thing to watch and listen to YouTube videos and podcasts, but to really sit with your favorite artists. Not only is it the experience, but you're so locked into that whole energy that you learn more than you expect.
Right, and it's always it's really cool because back when I was really more into trying to get my skills up, not that I'm not now, but when I was really trying to learn and being able to sit with maybe some of my top idols or whatever at that point in drums would have been great, but it wasn't like an opportunity back then. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't available to just be able to sit down with someone that you really want to sit down with and talk with them. So it's really cool that they've made that a thing now, and people can sit with someone that they look up to or that they really want to learn something from and actually have that person explain it to them. It's just like unreal.
Absolutely. It's a genius idea, all in all. It
really is.
Glad to see you're doing it, too. That's a Halpern's thing, right?
Yeah, Matt's definitely a part of it. Just like you, I'm fortunate and happy that you guys have me on this show. I was, same thing with them. I'm really happy that they're giving me the opportunity to teach under their, under their business. So I'm stoked.
Absolutely.
Hard work pays off. Hard work always pays off.
Even if sometimes it doesn't feel like it is for a while.
It's got to work for a bit.
That's right. You just got to keep at it.
Exactly.
Keep at it. Now, in general, if you are just given some basic drum lessons, if you were just booking, just straight drum tour lessons, when you are kind of doing that, do you have a set structure a lot of times, or do you just kind of wing through it, or depend on what the student, like you say, with questions, what the student kind of wants to work on? Or
well, I have a set list of things that I can go over. I always start my lessons out with what would you like to work on? Is there anything in particular or specific that you've been trying to achieve, or something that you're having a problem with getting or not understanding, or if you have some kind of block that's not allowing you? Like, let's go over whatever you got first, and then whatever time is left, we can go over the stuff that I have written down. And it seems that a lot of the times, majority of the questions that get asked are things that I would be covering in my list anyways, so it ends up kind of working out.
Sure, absolutely. Do you have actual written materials that you like to use, like a book per se, or a certain set of books, or stuff that you think are vital kind of when you sit down with a student? Or
well, I just have a notepad, on my iPad, and I've written things out for a long period of time now. And let's say, for example, if I'm giving someone a lesson and they say, hey, I want to learn this, or I want to learn this part of a song, like, I'll break down that part of the song and I'll put it in my notes, And then that way, with each lesson that I give, if someone's bringing something to my attention or asking to learn something that I don't already have covered, I'm able to put it in there and expand on the curriculum that I have. So it's always building, and there's always more things added. And if I'm at the practice space and I come up with an exercise that I think would be beneficial, I'll like write it on the list. So I'm always trying to add things to it, but there's definitely a few staple things that are always on there that I always want to kind of go over for the most part.
Yeah, that's cool. So it's kind of like everything you kind of come as your kind of own organic material that you've kind of just built up through time. That's a neat concept where I think a lot of drum educators will just say, well, you got to pick up the Chapin book and we got to do these exercises where that kind of, that's pretty unique to what you're doing there. I think that's pretty neat.
Right. And I've gathered, from talking to other drummers that we've been fortunate enough to tour with and stuff like that, that's where I've gained a lot of information. So, yeah, I think like that little notepad is just a bunch of different, ideas. And I do completely agree with the, going the book method. I personally cannot read music that well, so I wouldn't really be able to teach out of a book. So if you take a lesson, you're able to see the way my notes are set up. They're set up in this weird little way that made sense to me, and I feel like everyone can relate to that because everyone will make notes, and it might not be the standard way of making notes. You just got to do what works for you and what you can understand. So
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That's pretty cool. And when you're working on the road with students too, is it normally like pad based work that you'll set up to do, or is there many chances where you get to actually work at a kit?
on the road, unfortunately, it's always on pads, just because the kit's always stashed away by the time the lesson would come about. And since I'm left-handed, anyways, usually no one can play on the kit anyway. So
yeah, that makes it a little bit more difficult. Sure.
Exactly. But no, it's always pad based. I usually just do it on like a snare pad or whatever, and have a metronome there as well. But yeah, that's basically all you really need, and then the rest of it's just a lot of talking, going over exercises, and making sure technique is good. But yeah, the equipment that's needed is minimal.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's there's a lot to be said about that. You don't need a whole lot to learn a lot of concepts in drumming. So as long as you have an open mind and
exactly,
then ends up working out.
A lot of it is you can apply whatever you're doing on this one thing to so many different things. It almost makes it easier to practice if you're not distracted by the whole drum set. You just have that pad in front of you. It's easier to just get down and work on what you're supposed to work on, rather than getting I have all these drums and cymbals in front of me I can hit. It's like makes it easier almost to like work on specific things.
It's like a giant distraction.
If you have a whole drum set, yeah, because you're going to want to like play all these different beats and all this other stuff when realistically you need to sit and work on your stick height, or who knows what you have to work on. But
very true.
Yeah,
very true. So Richard, what do you have? You have another question for Sam here?
Yeah, just real quick to jump back on that drum lesson thing. Now, I know in the past years with these lessons at Warped Tour, they've kind of had like a local, like a live setup where people actually could sit on a drum set and learn. Do you know if they're doing that this year?
I don't exactly know if that's how it's going to be. I heard there's going to be a drum set there, but I don't really know the exact details to that yet.
Yeah, because that could probably get tricky with all the drummers that would be giving lessons.
With all the drummers, just with noise, if there's anything else, if there's other people teaching in the same area, drums are kind of the overpowering instrument to where nothing else can happen if drums are happening. So
Right.
I don't exactly know, but if there is a drum set there, that's going to be really cool. If there's not, still going to be really, really cool. So
true.
Yeah, I have no idea yet.
That's good. So I mean, you kind of answered most of the questions that I had. The last one that I think I wanted to throw in there was, you've been doing Veil Maya. You've been with Mark forever. Have you ever been asked to do another project or ever considered doing something else to add to kind of your list of what you're doing?
I've never been asked. It's funny, the only time I've actually ever, toured and played with a different artist, I played with a band called Amora Savant, who's doing some reunion shows with Dead to Fall and Carnivale in the coming months. But I toured with them before Veil of Maya even did our first tour. I filled in with them for a week when their drummer had some other things going on. But that's the only other project that I've worked on, and I'd be totally into doing other stuff. And recently, I've been, drumming wise, I've been working on lots of different stuff. That's, a lot of it's not metal at all. So
Yeah,
I'm definitely open to doing different things. I just haven't gotten really around to it yet.
that'd be awesome to see. I know from hanging out with you, seeing you jam on your kit, you definitely have you got a lot to offer as a player. You got the metal chops, but there's a lot of pocket packed in there. It was awesome. It's awesome to watch you play.
Thanks, man. I'm always trying to. There's always stuff you can learn and work on as a drummer, which is why it's so great to be a drummer, because it never ends, and there's always things to shoot for and to try to achieve. So
Absolutely.
always just trying to work and learn stuff that I don't already know and try to improve. And anything that I work on that I learn that's new is awesome, because then I'm able to pass it on to other people as well. So
that's what the drumming community is about, and I think that's what kind of makes it, kind of a unique community. You don't see it as much, I think, in some of the other instruments as you do, where drums is, you're not so concerned with, well, I got to know more than the next guy. You're more concerned with, well, what can we all share kind of together, which is kind of cool.
No, that's very true. And it goes back to even like way back in the day when I was like just starting. Like I remember emailing or, writing MySpace messages to drummers that I looked up to, like asking questions on how they did their double bass. And I remember like, getting like page long responses from these guys that I would never even expect to write me back. So, and this was like 10 years ago at this point, 15 years ago. So it's just very cool. And like you said, I don't think it's like all the other communities. It's very special. And I think drummers are always, drummers always get along. It's like they always immediately click and run into each other, and then usually become friends pretty quick because there's just so much to talk about and share, I think. So
Right.
Agreed, absolutely.
It's funny how you can spot a drummer from a mile away.
Totally.
Whether it be driving, whether it be someone at work behind their desk, the cashier at the grocery store, you could just tell. It's easy.
With Richard, it was always easy because you just see him beating the crap out of his steering wheel with a pair of drumsticks at the stoplight.
Yep.
So
I used to do that. Not because I didn't want to mess up my car, but
yeah, exactly. I couldn't bring myself to do it either.
I remember having
a lot of shitty looks from people.
What are you, reckless as hell?
Excuse my language. Sorry about that.
No, that's quite all right.
That's
quite all right.
No, yeah. I had that. Remember that Impala I had, Kevin? The windows were all blacked out, and because of that, I'd beat the steering wheel so hard. I remember asking you specifically, do you think my steering wheel is going to blow up in my face?
Oh, yeah.
What, the airbag or something?
Yeah. He had to get a lesson in automotive airbag setups and how they go off and how they don't go off.
I learned. The front of the car sets it off, right?
Yeah, definitely. The sensors, and there's a module, but that's a different podcast.
Yeah, drummers beat away, beat that steering wheel.
That's a different podcast. But getting back on track, we know you guys just finished up the 10-year tour with Sumerian, and and that seemed like it was a great tour. So tell us kind of how about that went, and what you were able to do on that tour.
Okay. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. The shows went really, really well. It was very cool to be on tour with everybody. We had been playing shows with Boo and After the Burial for an extremely long time now, and we went on our first full U.S. tour that we had ever done. Like the first time I ever went to California, it was with After the Burial in 2007. So it was really cool to be able to be back on tour with those guys and hang out and just play shows for some awesome fans. And it seems like a lot of people that like, Veil or like Boo or ATB seem to like all three of the bands. So it was just a really cool concert to go to. And it's one of those lineups that it's awesome for people going because it's, like I said, if you like one, you probably like all of them, and it was awesome for us as the bands because we all get to be with our friends every day and play shows with our friends, which is great. So yeah, overall it was a great tour. It was really fun, and I was really glad to be a part of it and that it was able to happen.
Oh, that's great. I mean, like I said, I saw the lineup and thought that's a great lineup. So
Yeah,
I'm sure it was enjoyed by all for sure. Now, were you doing tour lessons on that particular package or?
yeah, I did a few.
Cool, cool. That's great.
Yeah,
And like I say, I mean, definitely, we'll definitely have all the backlinks to, to all your social media platforms and any other way that anybody can get a hold of you via your email. So if anybody wants to talk to you or see about setting anything up, or even if they're now, what area are you in now? Are you in the Chicago area?
yeah. I live in Chicago, just in a suburb in the city.
Okay. Well, just as much, if there's any Chicago, guys out there that want to try and reach out to you and book a lesson when you happen to be home and trying to hang around from between tours.
Yeah,
But
it's, I'll always down to do lessons here. I'm down to get together and do some shedding. Just trying to learn and play drums.
absolutely. So we'll have all that in there for you. Now,
Awesome.
now we know you're doing Warped Tour, so that's going to take up a pretty good chunk of the summer. And are you guys going to continue to be out on the road kind of after that point, or are you guys going to start thinking about getting in the studio and start making another record?
Well, I don't really know exactly yet. We have some things that potentially could be in the works for after Warped, but I will say that there definitely will be time put aside for a new album pretty soon after Warped Tour.
Sure. I could imagine, and I'm sure it'd be nice to settle down a bit because it seems like you guys have been moving around a lot. You guys have been doing a lot of road work, and it's probably time to sit down and put your collective ideas together too, right?
Yeah, we've definitely been busy, and busy is a good thing for sure. But it will be nice to relax and take some time at home and try to get, like you said, ideas together for this next album and see what happens with it.
Absolutely. So one thing we were able to do too is we did try and grab as many user submitted questions. So
Awesome.
I figure we'll get into that. Richard, do you have anything else you want to touch on before we kind of get into the user Q&A, so to speak?
No, I think we're good. I think we covered a lot, man. I want to say thank you again for spending this time with us and really getting in depth about all these things. It's
Oh,
really cool.
well, thank you for having me. Obviously, I'm just honored that you asked me to do it and have me be your first guest on this show. It's awesome. So I really appreciate the opportunity.
Of
Yeah,
course,
that's
man.
no problem. Yeah, we're glad to have you, and glad to have you as our guinea pig guest for our very first show. So it'll go down in history. So,
You were the first.
but I suppose let's slide into some questions here. We tried to narrow some down because we didn't have time for every single one because we might
Okay.
be here a long time. But let's see here. This was a good one. Now, this is from the Verilmaya Instagram. This was submitted, and you'll have to excuse me because I don't know what it's if it's Prickspear, but it's Prqsper wrote in. Sometimes do you play with different setups, to inspire you, or do you kind of keep your kit kind of the same setup all the time?
So for the most part, my kit is pretty much the same. I will go through every few months or every couple of tours and readjust things a little bit more for just me being comfortable and, going through my kit and making sure that everything is still comfortable because your body is going to constantly change and the way that you're going to play is going to change. So I just, I'll do that. I'll add like a cymbal here or there. Like, for example, I just added an 8-inch stack. It's a Meinl Dark Splash and then a Generation X 8-inch filter china underneath it. And I put it right above my hi-hat. And so just adding this little cymbal, this one little cymbal, has made drumming like so much more fun for me for some reason. Like I just love this cymbal so much. But yeah, I won't make any major drastic changes, but I'll change cymbals around. I'll change cymbal placement occasionally, depending on how my body's feeling. But for the most part, it stays in the 5-piece setup: snare, 2 rack, and floor, and 1 kick. But yeah,
Cool. Oh, that's great.
basically.
I mean, sometimes changing up. I know I've done it a lot through the past. I remember for a while I was in some bands that kind of would be surprised when I'd keep kind of a setup more than 2 weeks, because it seems like sometimes just changing, like you say, just change where one thing is or where a couple things are, or, maybe sometimes dropping a tom or adding a tom, depending, and all of a sudden it definitely will pull you out of a rut or kind of rejuvenate your playing sometimes. But that was a good
Totally.
question.
Right. No, totally a good question. And also, it's just, I've always heard this be said by a lot of drummers, but less is more. And it's just, at one point I had a massive drum set with a million cymbals on it, and it looked sick. It was awesome. I loved playing it. It was really fun. It sucked to set up live and to deal with, like, in timed situations and stuff like that. But what was cool about taking stuff away is you're forced to make what you already made with less, and it forces you to come up with more ideas to really use the things that you have. Like if you only have three cymbals, instead of having six cymbals, you're really going to use those three twice as much, and you're going to have to come up with ways to make it interesting using those three cymbals, because you don't have the other three that to fill in that space or make things different. So it's
Absolutely.
definitely cool to take things away and play minimally, because you can make the most out of the things that you have.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So this one is kind of, it's, you kind of put a couple questions in here, but I kind of wouldn't mind touching on this. This also came from the Veil of Maya Instagram, but it was the Eric said, where do you draw inspiration from? And what I kind of thought about that, to get it kind of into a deeper aspect, is where are you kind of at as far as what's inspiring you right now on the drums, or what do you generally listen to or hear that just kind of makes you want to go and spend time on the drums?
Recently, it's been like a lot of R&B for me. Like I've been really into Mariah Carey and Usher, and I don't really know why, but
Eh,
I just really have been. It's been a lot of fun for me to just like put on one of their Pandora stations or whatever and just kind of jam along. It's all pretty slow, like tempo wise, so there's a lot of space depending on what you're doing. And
Absolutely.
it's very different than what I usually do, obviously, from Veil stuff. So it's just a nice change of pace, and it allows me to look at drumming a completely different way than the way that I look at it for Veil. And I'm hoping that I'm able to incorporate a lot of the stuff that I've been working on with slower, groovy stuff into Veil of Maya at some point, once I can make it a smooth transition.
Absolutely. No, that's awesome. I mean, some of those tunes have just such a deep pocket, and it's just kind of, it's
Yeah.
fun just to sit back there and just kind of, play that role instead of, as upfront as drums are in metal. It definitely is nice to just lay back and just kind of groove and just relax and make everything feel really good.
No, totally. I'm trying to think of other people and other things. I mean, um, yeah, I mean, just hanging out with different drummers on different tours. It's gotten me extremely motivated and inspired. We did a tour with Periphery and Good Tiger at the end of last year, and just being around Matt Halpern and Alex was great. It was the most most
Oh,
of
I could imagine. Yeah.
half of my life. So
Yeah,
like
goddamn.
it's just
Yeah. That's great. That's fabulous company right there. So
Some of the sickest drummers in the industry.
it was great, and I was able to learn a lot, and it's just like that's what watching them play and getting to watch them, and even on the Sumerian tour, then I got to watch Cam and Dan Carl, and just getting to watch different drummers and seeing different dudes play and snap. It's just so sick, and that's what like motivates me to like go to our practice space and be like, damn, like I need to put time in right now. So that's the kind of stuff that's been motivating me, and it's like I've been trying to get back into watching drum videos. Like I used to watch a lot of like YouTube videos and drum DVDs and stuff, and I kind of haven't in the last few years as much as I really used to, and I'm trying to get really back into it. And it's crazy because I like went on YouTube the other day, and I was like, man, like I haven't seen so many of these videos now, because I remember when I was watching them all the time, like I'd seen a ton of them. And now there's just so many new ones because I gave it such a long break. I'm like stoked to like dive in and see all these new drum videos, and all this stuff that I haven't seen or heard before.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's definitely true. There's a lot of stuff out there. Sometimes it's almost overwhelming how much stuff is
Oh, it
out there,
is.
but there's a lot of
Totally.
stuff out there.
A lot of voices,
A lot of
a
voices.
lot of drum voices.
So on to another question. We've got, looks like this was from Sam's personal Instagram here, and this is Ayrton Sanguino. And he writes in and wanted to know if you ever marched like a battery instrument, like marched a snare drum. Did you ever play marching band in high school or anything like that?
No, I didn't. I wish I would have had more to do with like music in a school setting, but I honestly had nothing to do with music in any of my schooling. It was all kind of done on my own at home. But
Excellent.
I wish I would have. I wish I would have marched or done something. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. But I just see people that have marched and seeing their chops and stuff, just knowing how much they've had to practice. It's just it would have been a great thing. It's great to have under your belt. So, but
Yeah,
no,
Absolutely.
in the end, I did not do it. But I
Yeah.
wish.
See, yeah, I know exactly what you mean because when I went through school, I'd already played the drum set for a little bit before middle school when we started band here in Florida. And I said, well, I already knew drums. Maybe I'll learn saxophone. And then I played the trombone, and I played trombone all through high school. And going back now, it's like, why did I not pick the drums?
Right.
I would have picked up so much more. But there's a lot that I took from playing a melodic instrument, but I sometimes kick myself for not doing that same thing.
yeah,
Right. Well, at the same time, on the other side, I always think like, man, I wish I would have played a melodic instrument because if you play guitar, you play bass or piano, like you have an understanding of like notes and keys and chords, that kind of stuff. Whereas with drums, you don't. So it's easier from like a writing aspect or composing to compose with those melodic instruments. I feel than with drums.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think we got time for one more question. This one also came from the Sam's personal Instagram, and this was Necrolam75 puts of all the Veil of Maya albums, including All Things Set Aside, which song or song segment would you consider the most challenging to play live?
Um, well, I don't know. There's definitely some hard songs. I mean, All Things Set Aside goes way, way back. I don't even remember some of the songs that are on that CD. But I think most of the hardest stuff that we played live, because there's definitely songs on some of the CDs that we never played live that are like really, really hard. But the hardest songs that we play live or that we did was Divide Paths was extremely difficult for me. And that's off of Eclipse. Um, I'm trying to think of other ones. I think that was the hardest one, and that was just basically because a lot of the fills in it are extremely. The whole song is at 2:30, so it's pretty
whoa,
fast, and
Jesus.
the double bass part in it goes for an extremely long period of time. That pattern, and it's just really hard to play clean. I'm the kind of person that if I miss one trigger hit or one kick drum hit out of that whole section, I'm going to be a little bit bummed out about it. So
Sure,
it's
sure, yeah.
very hard to play that many notes and not miss one. So I would be pretty bummed out about it a lot of the time. But that song is definitely really hard. But I feel like as long as you put the practice time in to practice the songs, it won't be that crazy. Like all the songs that we play in our set now, I just make sure I practice them, and the more I play them, the easier they've been getting for me. Like the more time I've been putting into like just really getting the songs down, it's becoming easier and easier for me to play them. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, that wraps that up, and that was all of the user submitted questions we had. But just as Richard said before, and we'll say again too, we're delighted that you were able to come on and be our first victim. And
thank you for having me.
yeah, no problem at all. We're definitely going to have, like I said, all of the information for this show in the show notes. So we're gonna be bringing these out a lot more. So make sure you pay attention to the Drummers I Like podcasts. And Richard, I don't know, do you have anything else that you could think of to touch on before we sign off with Sam?
Yeah, Sam, is there anyone you want to shout out? Any thank yous, your sponsors, anything like that? Go ahead and do it right now.
Well, I always want to thank you guys for having me on the show.
Of course.
Want to thank Meinl and Tama and Vic Firth. All three of those companies have supported me for a long time now, and they take really good care of me, and they make really quality equipment. So I love all of them, and yeah, I just want to thank anyone that submitted any questions or anyone that listens. If you have any more questions, like you guys said, my contact information will be up somewhere. So just feel free to, shoot me a Facebook message or whatever if you have more questions. So always down to help or, do what I can. So
cool. Awesome. Right. Yeah, we'll have all that. We'll have all your links, social media, everything in the show notes. So look out for that, everybody.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you guys again.
No problem, and thanks again for coming out, and hopefully, if things go well, maybe we'll have a chance to do some live filming from one of the Warped Tour dates or something like that to get an update on how things are going, and maybe get some live video out to some of the fans, and see where you're out then.
Yeah, that'd be totally awesome.
Great. All right, Sam. Well, thanks again for coming, and take it easy, man. Peace out.
All right. Thank you, guys. See ya.
Talk to you soon, buddy.
All right. Bye.
Bye. So that's it for the first podcast and interview with Sam AppleBaum of Veil Maya. I think it went awesome. We went over a lot of great things. We got to hear a lot about what Veil's doing, what Sam's doing as a drummer. I think it's awesome what he's doing with TEI and the lessons. Make sure you go and hit him up and book your first lesson with Sam AppleBaum. If you haven't booked one yet, he's going to be on all the Warped Tour. It's going to be real awesome. And we're real excited for next week, too, so tune in. We will have Matt Halpern on from Periphery. We'll be talking about a lot of awesome stuff. Once again, more TEI. We'll be talking about Periphery. We'll be talking about all the upcoming tours. So, yeah, I think that about wraps it up. Is there anything else from you, Kevin?
I think that does it. Sam was great. Can't thank him enough for coming on and being our first guest again. And, that does it. I mean, I just want to encourage everyone to make sure that they go on and they leave comments about the podcast, leave comments or reviews on anything you see. It's all new for us, so we want to make sure we get your feedback. It's important to us because we're, trying to do it for all you drummers out there. So with that being said, I think that just about wraps it up for me, Richard, and just want to thank everybody for joining us.
Yeah, a big thanks to everybody. Big thanks to everybody who's listening right now. We want to, once again, like Kevin encouraged, please give reviews. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, YouTube, Google+. It's all Drummers I Like. Just whatever the tagline is for that website, just hashtag or / Drummers I Like. You'll find us there. We're also running a really cool contest right now. If you get over and subscribe, drummersilike.net/subscribe, and you're one of the first 100 subscribers, you'll win a cool Drummers I Like prize pack. And along with that, we plan to do a lot more cool contests in the future and try to get everyone as involved with the drummers that they like and the drummers that we like. Because like Kevin said, we're doing it for you guys. This whole idea was based off of, us not seeing other media outlets putting out the kind of stuff that we feel drummers want to see and hear and talk about. So this is our crack at it. We hope you really like it. I want to thank Sam again. I want to thank Veil Maya. I want to thank Kevin most of all. He did a great job helping me get this together, really helping me put this content together, and of course, helping it sound good, because this is a lot of work, guys, and without your help, without your reviews and comments, we wouldn't be able to do it. So we hope to hear from you, and I think that's about it. Anything else from you, Kevin?
Nope, that's about it. I mean, thank you too, Richard. You put in a lot of hard work yourself, and I couldn't be happier to be here with you. So that being said, I'd like just to say goodbye to everybody, and till next week with Matt Halpern.